I think podcasts are very useful and you learn about things that you maybe didn't even know about.
I think podcasts are really fun. Instead of opening a big book of words, it's just easier and it gives you things from personal experiences.
I listened to a few in year 7 with my RS teacher, and it was, in a way, it was quite nice to listen to. It was calming at the start of the lesson.
And also it kind of introduced us to the idea of podcasts, and it made it a lot easier to actually do them when we came across actually doing one ourselves.
One of our teachers actually made us make a podcast, and that was really good fun, because sometimes I feel that if you're watching a video about something, you get distracted by the pictures and you're not actually taking in the facts and all the information. So a podcast, you can also do other things at the same time. You can write work as well as listening to it. You don't need to switch forward and back to look at the pictures and stuff.
I've listened to Eddie Jones's podcast in the past, and also the High Performance podcast, which if you haven't come across them, I highly recommend. And it just gives little snippets and nuggets of information that hopefully I can take into my everyday coaching that I do.
I've listened to a series by YouTuber Anthony Padilla, and it's about him interviewing people with interesting people, I would say, maybe people with disabilities, for example, people who have tics and multi-personal disorder.
I actually listen to podcasts in a more scientific way. So because I do physics, we all do physics, and then I'm really interested in the nuclear physics and particle physics bit. So I listen to podcasts of CERN. There's a Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, and it was really quite fun, and it helped me to write my personal statement for university.
Welcome to the Berkhamsted Spotlight, Berkhamsted School's podcast channel. Join our weekly guests from inside the classroom to behind the scenes of our day-to-day activities through to life beyond Berkhamsted School. Find out what it's really like to be part of our remarkable community.
So hi, I'm Simon. I'm coming to you from my recording studio, which I use for recording podcasts for Berkhamsted School. We provide this service as a way of allowing Berkhamsted School to have a podcast channel, but importantly where the questions are coming from someone not within the school environment. And the reason why that's important is because it means that we can ask authentic and genuine questions. One of the things we find when people come onto a podcast episode is that a lot of them haven't been on a podcast before, so they don't quite know what to expect, and they're feeling a little bit apprehensive. But virtually every time, by the time we get to the end of it, they say, Simon, I actually really enjoyed that. And that's good, because the whole idea of it is that it's like having a chat in a coffee shop. And it's only the audio that we're recording. So I tell people this, we can see each other during the recording. And I'll often bring with me a cup of coffee. Sometimes I'll bring a cup of coffee and there's nothing in there. But that's just to add to the whole experience of it being just like in a coffee shop. It just makes people feel a bit more relaxed. They can be more like themselves, and it keeps it authentic.
What a start to Friday morning. I'm thoroughly looking forward to doing a recording session for In the Berkhamsted Spotlight with Simon Jones, where I'm going to be talking about the importance of the work with Berkhamsted Society and our school and local community. So I'm thoroughly looking forward to that as a start to a bright Friday morning.
So, Richard, in this episode, we're going to be talking about community and community within the school environment as well. But I'd love to understand a little bit more about your own education, so where you went to school and what your own experience of school life was like.
So I went to school in Stratford-upon-Avon. Had a wonderful upbringing in terms of education. Very sporty. Sport is my background, my passion and hobby as such. So I played first class rugby. Played for Moseley, Saracens, and Ebbw Vale. So rugby is a real passion and athletics. So Stratford-upon-Avon, the upbringing, and then started my teaching career in North London in Queen Elizabeth School, Barnet, before coming to Berkhamsted. And I've been here for a happy 23 years.
Gosh, wow. Tell me, why is community important for the school?
I think the last couple of years, Simon, have shown us the importance of community, because when community and networking and society is taken away from someone, I think we realise how important it is. And we realised as a school that we almost had a responsibility in the local community to bring people together, whether it be the friends of the school, whether it be alumni, whether it be local charities, local businesses. I'm very much involved in bringing people together via various platforms, whether it be events, whether it be university visits, because I visit our alumni in universities around the country to see how they are. And it's bringing people together for social gain.
In this episode, we're talking to 7 Year 7 pupils. First, we have Lexi, Poppy and Genevieve, and in the second half, we speak to Sean, Bradley, Harry and Archie.
To be selected was quite an honour, and it was very exciting, but it was also quite nerve-wracking because like I said, I've never done this before, so it was a complete new experience.
So what we talked about was holidays and friends and homework, and really what it's like to be in Berkhamsted and what it's like to be new and what it's like to be in Year 7 and be at the bottom of the school and trying to make your way up.
They were asking us questions about like what it was like in Year 7 and like what the surprises and what were the things you were expecting.
I also think it was to help other people and understand what life was like in Year 7, so they can maybe get an idea of how to settle in, how to branch out to friends and to be happy in Year 7.
Well, I enjoyed the bit where Sean talked about his journey from Greece and then when he started in Year 7.
I was talking about how life was in Greece for all my life, transmitted to England in Year 7. So literally 1 month later I did this podcast and I just felt like I needed to open myself up, and it was really amazing how it was just really easy to speak and really easy to just put it all through.
Because it was quite a big responsibility to represent the school, and there's a lot of older kids who probably had more experience and made that a better job.
I actually listened to the latest one is with Mr. Riley and Mrs. Villa, and because Mr. Riley is my tutor, so I think it will be really interesting to listen to that podcast.
Like as a student, you usually don't see things or hear things from a teacher's point of view. So having them talk about sports life is a different kind of thing, an unusual thing, I would say. Yeah.
The boarding house will have their own episode. I would love to be involved with it. Of course, with Anders, who is our head of boarding house. And when I was in school, so in lessons, the day students were always curious about what's the life of boarding house, what's it like, and some of them want to actually be flexi boarders because in some days they have so many lessons that it's really inconvenient for them to go back to the house.
I think it's good to maybe let the day school or the teachers know about what it's like to be an international student, studying in a foreign country, or maybe just to talk about Hong Kong, where I'm from, or China, where he's from, in general, to know about others' culture and stuff.
It brings the diversity to the school that is vital in all institutes and particular schools. So I think it would be really interesting, informative for people listening to understand the life of particularly a boarder or boarding tutors, and how the boarding side of life is done at Berkhamsted, and how the students enjoy the many benefits that Berkhamsted boarding has to offer will hopefully come out in a podcast.
It also gives you a good perspective of a child who's actually just started the school.
To give a broad overview of the school and just focus on a couple of students talking about their everyday life.
If you are considering joining or something, then you want to hear what it's like a student's voice. Maybe instead of hearing a teacher, a teacher or the head teacher.
I think it comes more to the heart when it's from a student, as you're going to share the same experience as them. So maybe it feel more important to them, and they'll understand better if it comes from a student.
You might really relate to it, and you might think, oh yeah, that's what I went through. That's what my friend went through, and it just shows that we're all together, and that podcast is really important.
I have to say I subscribe to the alerts on the podcast of Berkhamsted. I've just seen that the latest edition is the Directors of Sport, Joe Vila and John Riley. So I'm looking forward to that with added interest being in the PE department as well as looking after the boys' boarding house. I'm listening to interested to see what they have to say.
So far we've recorded around about, I think it's 15 episodes. We just did another one just now this morning, which was great fun. And it's been great talking to different people within the whole school environment, people of all different ages, of different positions within the school. There are so many opportunities as well for adults to listen and to get different aspect or different outlook on what life is like in different parts of the school. So it doesn't matter whether you're a parent or one of the school's alumni or a member of staff or someone who works in Berkhamsted in the local community. It's just a great way to hear these different people telling their stories. Another episode I remember is Joe Beadle, who used to be at the school and is now at Cambridge, an incredible musician, but he had some amazing stories to tell about his life when he was at Berkhamsted, but his life now, what it's like at Cambridge as well, and how his life at Berkhamsted shaped him and changed him into the person that he is now at Cambridge. So there are all these different people, members of staff, members of the community, people who used to be at the school, children who are still at the school right now. So it's good just to dip into it, to pick out maybe an episode from 3-4 months ago, because it's just as relevant today as it was 3 or 4 months ago.
I think it's a really an excellent way of building knowledge of the school at Berkhamsted, maybe slightly different from looking at the website or accessing it other ways.
I would very much encourage people to listen to the podcast, because you will get a real insight to who we are and what we do as a school.